Hello and welcome to Summoning Saturdays. On Summoning Saturdays, we pretend that it's Saturday and not Sunday, which I know which day it is. The title is a joke. Days of the week do matter, but if you're a time traveler, you can make it work. So, one of the reasons I set up Summoning Saturdays the way that I did was that in case I wasn't able to make it to Saturday, it would be easy to do it for Sunday. So that's how we're doing it. I did not really have a topic for today because it was kind of an exhausting week, but sometimes I just kind of go with the zeitgeist. Also, I've got quite a lot of books around that I might talk about instead. So let's see. All right. So last time we had quite a wild live session where people cut in and out quite a lot, and that was quite interesting to experience. Actually, last time we had the New Year's, that was right, we had the New Year's session, and I did some prophecies on what was going to happen in 2023. And before that, we had quite a lot of cutting out with Marilyn and Jack back and forth. So we're not going to go do that one again yet. Instead, I think I just want to go ahead and take out some tarot cards. So, interestingly, I actually have I have a book here on tarot by Crowley, but I'm not sure if I'm going to open this up and read it because it's kind of esoteric. Yeah, it's going to all be a white radiating angelic hand issuing clouds and grasping a heavy club, which has 3 branches in the colors and with the sigils of the scales. Yeah, this is for a different tarot deck than the Rider-Waite-Smith. So this I will have to do some further research on. Actually, it's pretty interesting. It's not. Let me do a double check. I don't know. Is that the Thoth deck? 2 discs or pinnacles similar to that of the ace. Green and gold serpent, bound like a figure 8, holds a tail in its mouth. White radiant angelic hand holds the center of the whole. No roses enter into this card. Revolving symbol. That one's kind of the same way as the regular, as the other ones. 8 of Wands. 4 white radiating angelic hands, issuant from clouds, clasped in 2 pairs in the center with the grip of the first order. Oh, this is not the Thoth deck. The grip of the first order means it's a Mason handshake. Okay, yeah, I'll have to look into this. This looks like it's like a OTO deck or something. Really, really interesting. I don't know how often that gets around. I wonder what the original source of this book was. It just says Tarot Divination by Aleister Crowley. And then copyright 1973 by Level Press on the inside, which I know is not right. HRU, the Great Angel, is set over the operations of the secret wisdom, Alpha, Omega, the first and the last. What thou seest, write in the book, and send it unto the 7 abodes, which be in Ashea. Yeah, like, this is some esoteric stuff. It's going to be fun to crack into. Sorry, the more I look at this, the more I see more stuff that I could translate. And this is dangerous for me. So, one of the things is that it's a little hard to teach with that, whereas this tarot deck, you know all about, I'm sure. Everyone knows this tarot deck. This is the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck. It's the one with the plaid backs. Everyone knows the plaid back tarot. The plaid to comfort you, to make you think everything will be normal. I find this back very interesting. This is the back that is we have the back on our original tarot deck, and I mean, it looks so like pillow fabric, cotton gingham dress, something like that. It's just so normal. Not really what you expect to have this on the other side. All right. This is actually all in order and everything, which is very nice. So, if you have a tarot deck, you kind of have a time machine. And one way in which you can do this is to simply just draw any card from the deck, and any card from the deck will have something you can use for travel. If you've got a seated royal, then they're kind of seated in their time machine. You'll get that with both the queens and the kings. And then with all of the other cards, you've got numbers. And numbers are, I'm not going to say numbers are the key to time travel, but I am going to say that it's kind of hard to do it without them. Because how do you know you traveled through time if you don't have numbers to track what you did? You have to track your sequence somehow. So if you aren't using numbers with your time travel, then you're probably using something like musical scales or maybe the alphabet. But even then, you're counting in some way. So you're basically using those as numbers. This is your numbers. Now you've got 1 through 10 in 4 different sets for the 4 different elements, and that kind of gets you through, I mean, basically the last few 20,000 years or so. And you've got the 22 up front, which kind of give you a progression of, I'd say, experiences. Sometimes people like to march out Campbell with his hero's journey, and I think that's a fine way to look at the major arcana of the tarot. There is definitely a hero's journey going on, and one of the great things about the tarot is since they're a time-traveling device, even though these were invented before Campbell did his spiel on the hero's journey, because they transcend time, they also have that in them. That's part of the magic of tarot, is that these are timeless symbols and they will always map to the mythology of the age. So any of these things you can find in what's going on right now. Sometimes people are trying to find a certain deck to use to be able to read on certain subjects, like, have a different theme deck for different areas of life. And that's fine. And I definitely understand how one would want that for politics, but keep in mind that these have been used for so long for so many different topics that they're kind of charged for everything, and they're very flexible. So the reason I emphasize that is because this is the deck that's everywhere. This is the King James version of the tarot. You will find it anywhere that you're looking for tarot cards, and if you're not finding this exact tarot deck, then you'll find a very, very rough variation on it. This one was made before, it even has the 1971 US Games Systems copyright on the corner here, but it's actually a knockoff deck. This is not US Games' box. But this deck went into public domain already. Now certain recolors of it and adaptations of it that have newer copyrights because they're their own adaptations of the original source material, those are not out of copyright. But the line work is in the public domain, and you really you're going to find this everywhere now. It's basically free for people to make versions of, and US Games has made their money, and they have other things they can make money on now. So enough getting into tarot tea. What can you do with this? Well, for one, sometimes if you just need some image work, find the self in here that you think you are right now, and then find the self that you want to be. Look how many cards there are in between. Those are going to tell you the stages of life you're going to need to go through to get from one to the other. And it's not like it's going to be like years. It's just that those are kind of the different symbols you're going to find along the way. I don't want to say challenges you face or anything like that, because it always makes people approach it with some sort of adversarial. You're approaching spirit. All of your spirit work, all of your spiritual work is for you. This is all for you. You are making it for you. So becoming adversarial in it doesn't make sense, because then you're becoming adversarial with yourself. It's better to try to look forward to partnership, to look forward to ways that you can work together with entities whenever you're doing spiritual work for your own personal self-growth and self-development. Now, if something shows that's acting really nasty, then that's not really a part of this, although the way that you deal with that will also reflect on this. There are many different ways of dealing with the same problem, and how you choose to deal with a problem will become a part of how you define yourself and how you'll end up redefining yourself later on in life. So you've got 22 of these things all in order. It's very helpful. If you're having trouble figuring out, let's say, who it is that you're even starting as here, maybe just split it at random. So I got to the last card in the deck, which means to get any further, I have to time travel. Isn't that interesting? Now, the fun part about the Tarot Major Arcana is that they really do reflect a thing that you end up having to do a lot in time travel, which is start over. You gamers out here will be familiar with this. This is when you reset the game. You might call it New Game Plus. When you get to the end, you get to reboot. And when you reboot, you have more chances, more options. Maybe you've unlocked a few secrets that you didn't find before. If you ever have deja vu, it may be that this is actually your second run through. You just don't know it. Don't think about it too hard. I'm not going to say don't think about it too much, because that's a bit condescending. When I say don't think about it too hard, like if you just can't get anywhere thinking about it, then probably wait until later and then think about it then. Sometimes some concepts just don't want to get through yet. They'll come later. So it's funny reading that tarot divination book by Aleister Crowley, talking about all these glowing white hands coming out of spaces and stuff. I'm going to guess that's part of why we have this kind of imagery in the Rider-Waite-Smith. I know that Arthur Edward White was in fact the one who was bringing in the lodge experience to the deck. He was, however, at an initiate level, and so he wouldn't have been initiated into the full secrets of the lodge deck that he would have been emulating with this project. This is why Aleister Crowley was so ticked off at A.E. White. It's because he made the popular tarot deck, but it's actually wrong. It's literally got some things that are wrong in it if you're trying to use it for the lodge work. And that's why people talk about, actually, here's another time travel trick. This deck is not in order, according to some. According to some, in fact, I've already reordered it the lodge way to give you an idea of the life I live, I guess. According to some, when you get to the Chariot card here, number 7, you should go to Justice next. Justice should be number 8, but you can see here that it is number 11. And that's because, according to Crowley and many other occultists, White did it wrong. He ordered these wrong. So what you end up doing is you take the Strength card, you go put it in front of the Hanged Man, and you take the Justice card and you go put it in front of the Hermit. And that is the lodge order. Now, is this incredibly important? Maybe. If you want to do time travel, you do Justice before you do your spirit pilgrimage and before you hit the Wheel of Fortune. I feel that you're going to come out better. And afterwards, you do Strength. So you first you have Strength. You go to Hanged Man, Death, and look, here's Temperance. Temperance makes a lot of sense being so near Strength. But it seems a bit weird to me that Justice would happen after the Wheel of Fortune. after the Wheel of Fortune? Because you just now had something happen. Why would you have justice right after that? So that's kind of my rambling thought on that. Sorry, it's been a while since I've kind of pawed through one of these and looked through the order of these this much. But if you have it in a different order, then your experience of these cards is going to be different. And according to the people who do this kind of magic, it's a significant difference. This means that when you shuffle your cards, you're doing something different as well. All of those meanings kind of get discarded, in my opinion. I think that's one of the reasons why Crowley would prefer that the numbers also be correct on the strength and justice cards. Because then whenever the deck is shuffled, there's still an order to them because they're numbered. Basically, even though the book's pages are shuffled out of order, because the pages are numbered, the book is always in order. In fact, in a book, whenever the pages are all numbered, it is handy to have the numbers of the pages so that you can reference different sections of it. But really, those were just there for the printers, so they would be able to verify that the book was actually printed correctly in order. And it's kind of the same with these. If the cards are numbered, the deck being in order is a lot different than the deck being shuffled. And it's not until you put the deck in order that you can actually really verify whether you have all the cards and whether you can put the deck in proper order. So let's say you want to do time travel with a tarot deck. All right, let's do it. I've already ordered Lodge style. Now, I think I am so hung up on that renumbering thing, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I have a Sharpie, so why not? You're kind of getting the experience live, I guess. So here we've got Justice, number 11, and I'm going to renumber that to number 8. Now we've got the Roman numeral 8 on there. Like I said, this is a knockoff deck, so I actually got it for experiments such as these, where I don't really have to worry about the appearance of it so much. I don't really have to worry about, like, oh my gosh, this valuable deck. It's not. It is not valuable. The whole point was that it was, in fact, quite affordable. So, and then here we're going to go and put the 1 and then the X. Wait. It's X and then 1. How did I do it on that one? I did that one correctly. X 1. It's mega big, but it is significantly changed as the point. So now they are properly renumbered, and whenever I shuffle them, they will still stay in that lodge order. This is only important if you care about this, by the way, and you do not have to care about this. I care about this because I've been doing a lot of research into lodge magic recently. So I think it's time to have an experience. Don't want them to get too smudged up. It takes a little while for some of this stuff to set. No, that's right. It's Roman numerals confuse me. I've been doing some time travel recently, and telling left from right is a little weird afterward. Roman numerals depend entirely on like if it's left or right of the thing, whether or not you subtract or you add. I have a cat meowing at me. Let's bring him up. All right, so I have to give him attention or he withers away. It's very important. There we go. Sorry, this is extremely important cat attention time. There we go. The big hug. It's so cute when he does the big hug. He blends so much into my robe. All right. Oof. You just gonna stay there? I need to shuffle. You're not being helpful. Here, try the lap. Let's see if I can. You're gonna get some great audio. Woo, shuffling. So, don't know if I've ever shuffled this deck before. Might be the first time. Three is usually enough to get going, but since these are all in order, I really would suggest like 6. Go ahead and do a few cuts if you prefer. Helps get different blocks of cards matching up differently. Yes, the cat is still on me. We're still doing this. Are you stuck? Yeah, there we go. He finally got tired of that. All right, we've shuffled the cards. Now, after this, after that, all you do is cards back in order again. I know it's kind of a joke. But note your first card and your last card. My first card is the 8 of Swords. Classic anxiety that also entraps you. My last card is the Ace of Wands. Grasping empowerment and, in fact, just pure magical force, pure vitality, uncut, unfiltered. The rawest form of pure light. So, going from that to that, I'm with it. But to do so, we'll have to put it in order. Now, the thing about putting tarot decks in order, first divided into the 5 suits. The first suit being the measures, and then, of course, the other 4 suits. And after that, it's actually pretty easy to just kind of keep sorting. I try to just stack them in kind of ascending and descending order as I go. That way it doesn't take too long. And then I drew the world first, so it's going to be pretty easy to put this one in order. And it's also just kind of a relaxing task, I guess. It has shuffled a whole bunch too, so that helps. Now, you might want to pay attention to kind of some of the things that come up, what order they come up, how long it takes you to get to certain suits. I noticed it took me a while to get to a cup, and the first cup I got was the King of Cups. Then I got the Ace of Cups. But before that, I got plenty of swords and wands and pinnacles. So, that distribution is interesting. I've been having, in the body particularly, I've been having a lot of emotional difficulties and just like a lot of psychological kinds of stuff going on because, it's been a really rough year, and everybody's been having a rough year. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's interesting that it took so long to get to the cups, but then I'm getting all the royals already. A lot of focus on pinnacles, which is also nice because it's been, last year was pretty disastrous in terms of money for pretty much everyone. There we go. There's the Fool. There's the Magician. What's funny about the tarot is that you go directly from Fool to Magician. It seems like such a big leap, but actually it doesn't take much to become a magician. I think people really forget that. It's not impressive that you're a magician. It's impressive that you keep going with it. Because you find out pretty soon that the really fun stuff takes a very long time. And I think that's where a lot of people start getting interested in the time travel aspect of magic is, well, first of all, I don't want to say as a shortcut, but a lot of people do go to it as a shortcut. And I'm not going to say magic isn't a shortcut or time travel isn't a shortcut. I mean, time travel by definition, I think, is a shortcut. But it starts to become a lot more interesting when you start thinking of it as more than that. When you start understanding what time travel can teach you, and that time travel is always teaching you. Since you're assembling your experiences together as you go through time travel, you're constantly learning new things because everything in front of you is that you've never experienced. And so they put a different perspective to things that you would have just never considered before. And this can be useful in your day-to-day life. This can be useful in your next life. Might be useful in your past life. Since you're traveling through time, stuff that's useful to your past lives will still change you and can still change you. Sometimes whenever you're finding a lot of stuff that's focused on the past and you don't really understand what it is that this has to do with you in your life, maybe it doesn't have to do with your past and you don't really understand to do with you in your past life. And your past life is resolving itself through this research that you're doing in your present. To you, it is the present, but to your past life, it's the future. So it's almost like, so from your past self's perspective, their future self is helping them work through their troubles in the present moment. That's what the experience is like for them. I think this is why our experience of ghosts is so strange. I truly think that we're experiencing time travel in those moments, and the people on the other end can't really communicate with us very directly because we're always talking to the echoes of who we've been helping. And so those echoes can only convey so much. The live feed will probably happen in a dream. Dreams convey a lot more of the human experience than most humans understand. And I don't blame them because dreams don't really explain themselves very well. The nature of dreams is not to explain themselves. In fact, the unexplained nature of a dream clues you into the fact that it was an important dream. Not understanding the dream helps you understand that it was important. And then you talk to somebody else. And then that somebody else understands the dream and tells you the interpretation back. And this occurrence happens so often, but people still don't really recognize the necessary component there is that another person be able to interpret for you. And it could be any other person. It simply just needs to be a different person than you who is able to think from your perspective the best they can, I would say. If a person is constantly projecting their own perspective onto your dreams and experiences, then it won't be useful to get their interpretation of your dream. But if they're willing to walk a mile in your shoes imaginarily, which doesn't take too much because in imagination you can walk anywhere, then they'll usually be able to tell you the interpretation that the universe wants to tell you. And they'll want to tell you that interpretation. Everyone wants to speak what the universe is saying. It sounds really good and feels really cool. So if you ever want to get that feeling, just do a dream trade. Ask someone you know who you're comfortable exchanging dreams with. Hey, you tell me your dream, I'll tell you my dream, and we interpret each other's dream. Feel free to have them watch this video or even just this section of the video so they know what the heck you're talking about. Yeah, but go ahead and play Joseph in his Technicolor coat. That story is popular for a reason and not just because it made a good musical or Andrew Lloyd Webber. Not that I mind that. Dream interpretation is best done as an exchange because then each party starts to learn more about their subconscious and starts to unlock more of subconscious. Otherwise, it starts to seem like only one of those parties can actually do the dream interpretation, which I think was an unfortunate part of the Joseph story. It sounds like dream interpretation is this very selective gift that hardly anybody has, and that's really not the case. Everybody can interpret dreams. It's just that interpreting your own dreams is, I'm not going to say almost impossible, but I am going to say that it's a rather unfair game to play. Your subconscious holds all the cards and can give none to you because it's not supposed to do that. It's being your subconscious, so it can't talk to you. It can only talk to you in dreams, which is the thing that you're trying to interpret with your conscious mind. It just doesn't work very well. So, dream interpretation exchange is a very good way of working that out because then both parties get something, and I don't know. Science was done. Why did I put justice over here? Oh, I was just following the numbers. Silly me. All right. Well, now I know where this... Numbers. So, deck is also a good way to kind of get an understanding of time travel. As in time travel, what you've done is that you've lost all sense of sequence with your previous place that you were in time. You've basically, if you consider your life to be one sequence of steps from when you first started walking to where you are now, then imagine that sequence as kind of a timeline in your head. And each one of those steps is like kind of a bead on that line. Now just snap that line and all the beads go flying. You're going to reorder all your steps. And if they're a different order, that's okay. That's what time travel is. You put things in a different order. Sometimes this affects the memory, and that's all it needs to affect. So was the actual record of the universe's steps actually reordered? Not sure. Hard to tell. Sometimes impossible to prove. But did you reorder time in your mind? Did you resequence events in your mind? Sometimes that is more than enough. In fact, most of time is really just a matter of human consideration. We're the ones who are kind of imposing the framework of time onto the universe. The universe just happens as it may. It doesn't really have to care about time. It does things right without having to try. Good for it. We, if we want to have things in order, must put them in that order on purpose, very intentfully. It doesn't really happen any other way. It is very difficult to find things in nature that order themselves so much as how humans order their own experience and possessions. There are some things that order themselves. There's genetic sequencing, there's the growth cycle of different animals, there's the seasons, the zodiac, the planets' precession through the equinoxes and through space. Those all go in order. But if they stopped going in order, they wouldn't care. They would just keep going wherever it is that they're going next, however it is they're going next. They would not be upset if their rotations went in a different direction, they would not be upset even if they ripped apart. They are inanimate objects. We're the ones who care what order things happen in. We're the ones who care about our experience. We're alive. In a way, being alive is a constant experience of time travel. Your awareness, your memory of your own existence, tracing it from one step to the next, that awareness is an awareness of time travel. And changing your awareness of time travel allows you to do different types of time travel. Everyone is time traveling at a 1-to-1 rate. It's something I like to remind everyone just to be a pain. But it's true. Everyone's mastered 1 second to 1 second to 1 second to 1 second. From past to present to future time travel. Everyone is really good at that one and will probably never stop being good at it. That's one of the things we can rely on. Thank goodness. Doing a different order is the one that's really difficult at first, but only at first. After a while, it's actually pretty easy to learn to deal with almost any sequence of events because you just sort of learn a way of going with the flow. The most important part is to understand which order you're trying to go in. Most people's problems in life, no matter what it is they're trying to do, time travel or not, most people's problem in life has to do with they're going backward instead of forward. I mean, if you're having and the classic problem is that the line is going down instead of up. So you have a time travel problem. You want to go a different direction in time than you're going. The thing is, are you willing to resequence all events in your life to resequence that line going up or down when it comes to your investments? Because that may be what it takes. Sometimes it's a matter of giving up something to get something else. And you do notice that quite a lot of people who are very successful in the stock market don't really tend to keep their spouses for very long. They tend to change that later in life with a big old pre-op agreement down the line. So that's some celebrity commentary from me. Current events. Ooh, the teacher's talking about current events. So yeah. By the way, a huge time travel tip. Keep up with news. Keep up with an independent news source. I say independent news source, I really mean like I keep up with CNN, Politico, YouTube, some light Guardian / BBC. And that at least tells me what the mainstream thinks has been going on all this time. And that's a pretty good sequence of events to be able to track of things. You need to have a timeline to string things along. So if it's just your social calendar, whatever. But I suggest having a good idea of what's going on in the rest of the world out there. Because it's very easy to twist your point of view of what's going on in the world out there by what's going on with your life in there. It's very easy to project what's going on in your life to the entire world. So having a picture of what's going on in the entire world that's a bit more objective and separate from your picture of what's going on with your life means that you can compare two different things. Sometimes they will sync up, and sometimes they will be different. Sometimes it'll be very refreshing that they're different. Sometimes you're going to want a break. So if you don't keep up with the world, keep up with some people. Social media is actually a good thing. I know that a lot of people are saying it's very unhealthy and that there's bullying and that there's trolls. And all I can say is that sounds exactly like my experience of middle school whenever I was growing up, and we didn't have social media yet. So zing. I know they have stats that say that things are going up, but they have stats. So I don't want to get too much into the weeds there. I started to kind of get into argument mode. I don't really care too much about that so much as I want you to just understand that you need to keep an order that so much as I want you to just understand that you need to keep an order in your head. The order in your head should be the order that something happened in, and it should be something that is verifiable by scientific fact. And it's okay if you disagree with scientific fact sometimes, but you need to keep that in a separate bucket from scientific fact. You just need a sequence based on scientific fact. You need to have that thing that agrees with like a consensus. It doesn't have to be consensus reality for you. You just need to be aware of it going on, separate from whatever's going on in your reality. This way, if something really, really immersive happens in your own reality, you've kind of got that objective timeline as a lifeline, a reference point. Not because you need to bail out into it, but because you just have an awareness of like, hey, this is going on in the world. There's a war in Ukraine. There's problems over here. This company is going bust. This economy is doing that. I know all of these, if you ever have a part of yourself that's time traveling, whenever they're looking through all of your memories, they're trying to figure out when it is that you are, because they can only tell by your memories and your senses. Oh, look, my connection's unstable. Oh boy. Come on. I'm waiting. Well, I'm not going to keep waiting. I'm just going to keep talking. So, your memory is what you use as a sequence to be able to time travel whenever you're using your memory to time travel with. So, in your memory needs to be chronological sequences of events happening as time happens to you. Things that update as time updates. Really tired of this connection thing. Sometimes I wonder if YouTube. If it's not news, try sports. Sporting events is actually a very good one. Stock market also can give you a lot of data that's very specific from day to day and from year to year. Just anything that gives you a unique sense of change, so that you understand the scale of time that you're moving against. So, just something to keep track of stuff with. And this is different than having a diary. It's different than having something that you keep track of your own stuff with. That's a different part of time travel, which I'll really talk about more at a different time. I really mean just like keeping up with music news, keeping up with which movies are coming out, actually watching a compilation of the biggest movies that are coming up every month is a really good way of keeping track of what's going on in terms of broader culture. And it's also a really good way to keep track of which ideas are kind of coming into the zeitgeist, and which trends are happening. What are people afraid of when it comes to horror movie trailers? What are people worried about? And what's trending? What's what's funny right now? It's good to be able to tell jokes. And sometimes you might find a movie you just want to go see. So also sequential chronological entertainment, such as movies, comics, books. Those are all good means of time travel because you have a sequence there, and you have a sequence that you can break if you want. If you're reading through a book, you can go from one page to another. If you're reading a choose your own adventure, then you've experienced this. Try doing that with a book that's not a choose your own adventure and see what it is that you experience. And actually, that's one of the reasons why I find tarot to be the most useful tool for time travel. Because with a book, you can flip to a random page in the book, but you can't really have all of the pages just like shuffle and be out of order, and you read them in a different order. You can only do that by unbinding the book and taking all the pages out and making all of them separate from each other and then playing it like that. And that's kind of a big pain. So if you have a deck of cards like this, technically you can do it with any deck of cards, but with the tarot cards, you have that implicit symbolism, all of that story, just everything that's in there. Then you just have the fact that, like, I went ahead and reordered all this. I put this back in order after disordering it. That is time travel. So figure out the sequence it is that you're traveling against. For instance, if you have that sequence of world events you've been keeping track of for years, then it's a lot easier to do world-based time travel outside of your own life because you've got an idea of these events outside of that. If you haven't been keeping track all this time, then you can go ahead and do some history research. This is also another reason why it's really good to have objective points of fact basis. Because if you try to time travel to something that didn't actually happen because you've been reading too many conspiracy theories, then you're going to have a really weird, possibly bad experience. When you try to travel to something that didn't actually happen, you're going to get nearest neighbor, as in you're going to land on some. You're going to land on something. You're going to land on something that is the most similar to whatever it is that you were aiming for. So if you were looking for a real experience, but you were trying to go for a fictional character, then you'll end up with like someone having a similar experience to that character as they possibly could. And that someone would be very similar to the character. So you would be able to have a similar experience to that character's experience as possible. But you wouldn't actually be experiencing that character's life. You would be experiencing a person's life. For all we know, it's your own life further on down the line or much earlier. You might not even recognize it. But that's time travel. Now, I know this connection glitched out a lot along the way, so however it shuffled my words is however it shuffles my word. I've kind of accepted that Summoning Saturdays is its own little tarot deck that kind of shuffles its cards as I record it. So whatever you get out of this is whatever you get out of this. But keep your deck handy. And what's great is that if you lose this, very, very easy to get again. If you ever don't want to do watch-based travel, very easy to get a wristwatch or a pocket watch. It's very easy to get a calendar. There's a lot of different time devices that are very popular and very, very easily attainable. And once you have that time tracking device or a sequence tracking device, it can even be a book. A lot of people probably use the Bible for this, in my opinion, if there are psychics who do this sort of thing. Just get that tracking device, break the sequence, and then resequence. Find a different place to start from, and then go in order again. And see what happens from there. Experience it. I'm going to experience whatever it is that I experience after having reordered this deck. This was a time travel moment for me and a time experience for me. Might be why the connection got so glitchy. Not sure if we'll ever find out. You can have your own time travel experience. I hope you enjoy it. One thing I want to mention is that you can get overwhelmed and it can seem like you're lost, but if you're a human time traveler traveling from another point in your life, then things are going to naturally reorder themselves. That's just what humans do. The rest of the universe does not naturally reorder itself. But humans and other living things, they naturally reorder themselves. I think that's one of the definitions of life, is order that creates itself. So your order will create itself as long as you are alive. So just keep going. You'll do fine. See you next Saturday or next Saturday. Cheers.